Round of applause.
Hey everyone, my name is Dean Gribble. I am a graduate of Birmingham School of Acting, now Birmingham Conservatoire, of July of last year. I've just come back from tour in December in Wuthering Heights, and I go back out April until the end of June. Yeah, and just keeping busy and stuff, so.
Yeah, Nina. Yeah. Hi. I'm Tom. I'm the Youth Theatre Director at Artrix Arts Centre in Bromsgrove. I graduated kind of 4 years ago now from Birmingham School of Acting. I was on the Applied Performance Programme. Back then it was Applied Theatre and Dance. I did theatre, not dance. My job, Youth Theatre Director. I work with young people from the ages of 4 to 5 all the way up to the ages of 18 to 21. I run lots of different youth theatres, teaching young people how to act, enjoy drama, make performance, and that's me. Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so I am the Marvel Jazz and singer-songwriter. I graduated from the Applied Performance course in 2015, which is a while ago. I've been performing and introducing a new genre of music called Afro Twang to the UK and to the music scene. And last year I set up a female development agency called the Minor Change Formation as a response to my struggle and other women's struggle in finding opportunities as a BAME artist in the UK.
What's BAME?
BAME is Black and Asian minority or ethnic minority communities. You had me what is BAME? But yeah.
I'm Charlotte Bell. I graduated from the Applied Performance course at Birmingham School of Acting, now Birmingham Conservatoire, in July of last year, same as Dean. And I am a co-founder of Melon Arts Theatre Company. I set that up in our second year of BSA as kind of a platform for us as emerging artists to kind of create the work that we wanted to create and work in communities that we have had come into contact with through the course, really. I wrote the Little Creepers and we took that on tour, and now we're just kind of working in the area.
Hi everybody, I'm Miniba. I graduated in business and marketing, so I think I'm quite different from the rest. In 2015, after that, I started to do a lot of random jobs in the youth sector, charity sector, looking at ways of using business and marketing within the sectors, and also how I can promote the arts with my skills. So a little bit different, my take on things, currently what I'm doing is still been freelancing, odd jobs here and there, but also I took a lot of projects in Europe, and I started to work on facilitation using non-formal methods, art methods, to educate and promote charities and youth work.
There we go. There's your introduction there. So let's open up the floor for the questions first, and then over to you. Anyone first? There we go, right at the back.
So most of you graduated a few years ago, some of you graduated just like recently, but are you where you thought you would be when you graduated?
No.
Or when you started studying? I guess if you just graduated, like when you started studying, where you thought you'd be? And if you graduated a few years ago, are you where you thought you'd be when you first graduated? Does that
Yes. No, I'm not. I don't know. Are you?
Yes and no. It's like what we were saying downstairs. I didn't realise how hard I would have to grind. I didn't realise how hard it was going to be to actually do it. Do you know what I mean? And no student loan, no organised timetable of lessons and the exciting stuff that you're doing. So it took a while to understand it and figure it out. But I guess, present is where I always want to be, so that's where I kind of feel like I am. And obviously present in the work, I'm present in myself as an artist, so yeah.
Yeah, because for you two, you're kind of like fresh out the gate, aren't you, right now?
Yeah. I think it's, if you'd have asked me 3 years ago where I was going to be, I think I'd have probably screamed and been like, I don't know! I think it's one of those things that, like you say, it's best to be kind of in the present, and I think the the art world is all like forever changing. So I think the stuff that we're doing now might not have necessarily been needed when we started. So, but that's so exciting, and I think that's something that like I definitely enjoy the most. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next, and so no, I don't think I did know, but I think I've still been pretty heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can relate to you guys as well. Like, I think I had a solid plan coming out, and I was already working in marketing, and I thought, okay, this is going to be it. But I think once you leave, I was exposed to a lot more once I left, which is interesting. And I thought I knew enough at university, but no, that's just the beginning. And that was probably my naivety. So yeah, I think going out into the real world, realizing that there's so many other sectors I could explore and use, and which is what I've been doing, much like yourself. For me now, it's about being in the present and exploring the options. As long as I'm sustaining what I'm doing and happy with what I'm doing, that's okay, and I don't need to plan ahead. And as long as you're satisfied with it and happy with what you're doing. But no, I'm not where I thought I was going to be at all. Like, it's completely different. I think kid me knew that she wanted to be there, but I didn't think. Once I grew up, I was like, no way. So I've kind of gone back on myself on that.
So with that, with finding your position out there, do you think there's enough support once you leave? Once you've
I don't know. I think from an app like Applied Performance, School of Acting point of view, I think definitely. I know when I graduated, that was something straight away that I helped really to work, is to make sure that people felt supported when they left, and that when they were on the course, they tried to get as much support as possible. So for apps, yes, maybe. I would hope that other university courses are obviously aiming to do the same. I think it's a massive appeal for universities now to kind of not say what we can offer when you're here, but to turn around and say what we can offer you once you leave. And in regards to the previous question, I think you've got to be ready to fluctuate. Things are always going to change, and you've got to be ready for that, because you can't be comfy. What is that? You're getting stale, whatever your art form is. You need to be ready for the next thing. And I think School of Acting Conservatoire did a good job of that, preparing us for where we were going afterwards.
I think that's the one thing I envied, because I was from the business school, and for me, I remember doing a marketing job at university, and when I was promoting events, I used to look at you guys and think, you don't have anything. It was so small. Like, you didn't have much compared to the business school. However, because it was small, you had a lot of support, I guess, or the access was there. Within the business school, I think because it's quite big and there's so many different departments, it's very hard to access support or get those one-to-ones or get to know your lecturers or your tutors as much as, I guess, the School of Art. I don't think there was that much support. I think you have the on paper, graduate support, but then that's very hard to access once you leave. For example, I remember sending a lot of emails and a lot of, wanting to do mock interviews, things like that, but I never got a reply in time because there was just so many people that wanted the same support at the time.
I mean, I think as well, it's slightly different, because I think in Applied Performance, the courses, how we were taught and that were built with our tutors, it felt very human. Like, I heard my tutor with a loud voice in a workshop and a really quiet voice and an emotional voice when the work made her cry. Do you know what I mean? So I was able to have a very human and a very real relationship with my tutors and with people that I made work with. As I feel like that might be slightly different in a course that's not artistic or doesn't allow emotion in it. If the subject is hard, then the way it's taught is, generally speaking, going to be hard as well. So I think new ways of learning and just making it more real and just being honest about how you feel about whatever it is might help that or ease that or make that different.
How fixed are the positions that you're going into, though, in terms of like contract?
Not fixed also. Basically, what I started to do was my interest was using marketing within charities, so through freelance contracts.
Okay.
So much like this, I started applying for contracts, applying. So yeah, it's the same struggle. It's not sustainable. You have to keep looking. You have to keep setting yourself, keep getting up the ladder. But again, I was that interesting person that I didn't want the traditional marketing business job. I wanted to use that and take that into the arts work. So I believe that's missing, or take that into charity work. Because that was missing for me. But again, I didn't necessarily get taught the non-formal methods in university. I learned it afterwards, or neither did I get taught about how to sell myself or do the funding applications, things like that. So yeah.
And how about the road of an actor? Different to an AP? Different to marketing?
I don't think you can get enough support, to be fair. I think across the board, I think it's a very, even since graduating, it's been a very like rocky road, because the things that I never thought about was, what am I going to do when there isn't any work? And that's the hardest time, because you've still got to get up, you've got to keep that motivation, you have to keep the discipline, you've got to be, because like Tom was saying, you can't grow rusty because you never know what's round the next corner. Work-wise, you've got to keep yourself motivated and energised, no matter what that is, any kind of thing, just to keep your brain active, because you don't have to be like performing to be doing your job, if that makes sense. You can still be going to free classes, doing free workshops. There's loads of opportunities, loads of new writing around Birmingham as well, where you can get yourself involved in projects and everything to keep yourself busy, and then so when a project does come, it doesn't feel as alien to you if you've been out of the game for like 3 months and you've been chucked into the deep end. So I think support-wise, it's having, cheesy line, having good friends around you as well. Like you've got, especially in uni, you form really strong relationships with not only friends and sort of peers, but with lecturers as well. You've got to keep good relationships, because I'm still in contact with some lecturers and they're asking how I am, and keep us updated on, we have to keep them updated on what projects we're doing. And sometimes they can ask you back and come and help out, and you just never know. Some lecturers can ask you back saying, do you mind helping me out on this? Because we've kept a good relationship. So I think support-wise, you've just got to be friendly and just keep as many happy contacts as possible, I would say. Happy contacts.
So I'm graduating in like a few months, and I'm like slightly panicking a little bit. Like I'm quite lucky in my position, because I've already got work lined up in Italy, which I'm quite lucky for. But it's like when I come back from that, it's like, okay, great, now what? It's like I've got the next like 4 or 5 months sort of figured out, and then afterwards it's like, now what? So it's just kind of, it's like as a recent graduate, sort of, how did you sort of cope with not being a student anymore? Like it's just, I don't know. I think in my head I'm just like,
I think you can't underplay the fact that it is difficult.
Yeah.
Like, and it is not even just in terms of finding work, because actually, like, if you're willing to put yourself out there 4 or 5 months before and like plan ahead, like that gives you time to find work. But I think emotionally and kind of going back to the support thing, it's like you can't underplay how difficult that transition is, and I think that's a very important thing to acknowledge on a personal level. Like the transition is hard, and you know, you can be the most positive, amazing, enthusiastic person, and leaving the structure of a university or even like the schooling type thing, education, leaving that, you do find yourself, or at least I found myself kind of like walking around like, what is this? Like how do I function now? And I think the piece of advice that I would give is to you kind of got to look after yourself and be really objective about things. So, you know, kind of think, and you've always got to kind of look at yourself in a positive light and go, actually, I am capable of getting work, and I am capable of leading, like, for instance, in an AP mindset, I know that leaving the course, I could facilitate workshops, I could talk to young people, I could engage communities. I know I can do those things. I've got a certificate that says I can. But also, like, in myself, I learnt those skills. And I think you should always look at yourself and go, well, what would a friend say to me? Like, if I went to them and went, oh, la, 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 this is how I feel. Like, what would you say to a friend if they said that? You know, you've got to look at yourself as the world is looking at you, rather than how you're looking at yourself. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say. I don't know. Come back to me in a couple of months. It might be different, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think keep that realistic attitude, like everything Charlotte just said. But you know, also understand that you may have to do something that you don't want to do for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Because real world problems. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's people out there that are working very, very hard for not even minimum wage, and they don't even know what they want to do in life. They don't even have a vocation that makes them happy. We're lucky enough to sit up here and have this discussion with people that know where they want to go and have their passions. Not everybody's that fortunate.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's crucial as well. Like, a lot of times we're asked, I don't know if people are at different stages, but where do you want to be in 5 years? What they should ask is, what do you want to do in 5 years to get there? In those 5 years, that's crucial. So the amount of work you want to put in, that you have to do certain jobs that you might not want to do to get your dreams. Because really, if you want the dream, you're going to do anything to get it.
So what? You're going away. So you're going away for a period
Well,
of time.
I'm working. I have already got contacts in Italy. I'm working with a theatre company in Italy,
Great.
and I like teach English to little Italian kids through drama and play. And it's
Brilliant.
very, like, alongside I get my TEFL certificate, so already I've got
Sweet.
sort of that. And then I've been offered another job to help run events for the tutors that are waiting. So realistically, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. I shouldn't worry as much, but I think
So
it's
what? Well, you know that that accreditation that you get
the
for
TEFL
teaching.
certificate.
Yeah. So you'll be able to apply that when you come back.
Mhm.
So then I'd be looking at schools, emailing schools
Well, yeah,
now.
I've already got like 120 hours on my certificate already, so it's just kind of building it. I know,
Sweet.
but it's like it's just sort of. But I'm doing an internship with Razzmatazz alongside now, so that could lead on to other work. So it's
It
just.
sounds like you've got an awful lot.
Yeah.
And you're worrying because you've got so
Yeah, I
much.
think it's confidence in your own abilities.
Yeah,
is a
100%.
massive thing.
You
I think
need to,
that's
like,
my problem.
Yeah, work on your self-thing, because it's like, you've just said that to all of us, and we're like, wow, that sounds really cool. Like,
You've
that
got
sounds-
more work than me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that sounds fun.
Get on the pilot.
Yeah. So
Just
no-
keep going, tick it off,
Yeah.
and then when you've got nothing, come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you're good.
Okay.
Just, yeah, keep doing that.
I think it's just the fear of graduating. It's like that's it. And I think, like you said, you've got to look after yourself. It's more leaving the people behind.
It's, the thing is, it's tough.
Yeah.
It
It's
Coming out
is
of like
tough.
a bubble,
Yeah,
like a bubble
like the
of
BSA
a very
bubble.
safe,
Yeah.
safe building, and then
You walk
suddenly
into
you're
that
just like,
common room, you're like, oh, they're all my friends.
Yeah.
And after it's
Yeah.
like, oh, bye.
But the thing is, your friends will still exist after that,
Yeah.
and I think that's such an important thing. Like, the support network won't be in the same room anymore,
Yeah.
but the support network, and also everyone's going through the same thing. You know, like, I mean, we were very close with the actors in our year, but the actors were going through the same thing as we were. So we could pick up the phone and be like, ah, and they'd be like, ah, and there's support in that. You know, there's some type of comfort in the insanity and the, you know, fear of the unknown, I think.
And also, I guess, to kind of just represent and be devil's advocate a little bit for the people that weren't or aren't in a bubble, because I really wasn't. Like, I've never really been.
You were in a bubble, man.
You think?
You were in a bubble.
It was a different bubble.
A different
My
bubble.
my own bubble,
Yeah.
but I felt slightly disconnected to like the clickiness of BSA, and you know, I kind of chilled with my housemate and the friend that I went to college with, who I came to uni with, and that was it. So I kind of never really felt like, and I feel like some people in the room might not feel like they have that support, and I think it's okay. I think it's what Charlotte was saying about the inner confidence, the I am, that I can, that I'm going to get up and go and do this. I think that whether you're in a clique or whether you're not, I think that's something that you need to work on to be able to move on to the next level. And I think in terms of like endings, I think, you know, they're interesting and they're kind of underestimated in terms of beginnings. And I think that you should enjoy the process just as much. The same amount of questions you had going into it, you're going to have going out of it, but just about something different. So just enjoy the fact that you're leaving something and that you've done it.
graduating's an exciting time.
Yeah.
You leave on a high. I think the important thing is to keep
Yeah.
there.
Keep the momentum.
Keep the momentum and just
going,
keep
yeah.
it, even if you're not, just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Because you're certainly not the same person that you were when you first started, right?
No.
So then there you go. So shed it.
Growth.
Shed that
Yeah.
skin.
Any questions? Okay, I think we were talking about earlier, I think before the AppChat's about cuts to the creative industry. How do you think that affects a graduate or any artist going
It affects it.
into this, and what's your opinion of how it affects?
Certainly affects it. I think it's harder for freelance.
Mm.
If you're looking to go freelance, it's difficult. It's going to be very difficult because everybody's trying to get the same pot of money as there was before, but now there's less in that pot. So I don't know. That's it. I think, as we've kind of put across already, I think everybody's trying to be incredibly positive, and rightly so. And I think that you should stay on that train of thought and think, you know what? If there's less money and everybody's going for this money, we need to make the work that we're making more interesting. And, you know, try and do the best that you can. Art centres, just seem to just be dwindling away a little bit.
And also, like, it depends whether, like, I get excited when Arts Council, like, put out reports. Mainly.
You were going to say when they make cuts. I get excited when they make cuts.
No, when they make
Yeah.
No, they put out reports and they talk about, oh, we want to support diversity, and that's a buzzword for me because it's like, oh, do you mean me? And then it's like they say LGBTQI, and then I'm like, oh, do you mean me? And then they talk about women and young women. I'm like, oh, do you mean me? So for me, I just see a lot of, we want to do it, we don't know how. If you're the person that's going to come to me and say, I can do that, they're going to give you the money. We met through While Out Open Mic Night, and that was so I set up the Might Change Formation and While Out Open Mic Night as a space, a multi-art space to showcase film, music, dance and spoken word, and we reached like over 50 women monthly last year, and we're bringing it back season 2 this year. But for me, that was the space that I know Arts Council didn't know existed, and these are the women that I know Arts Council don't know about, and these are the stories that I know are not being told. So for me, it was like, it's exciting to know that it's you they're talking to. Like, if you've got your niche or you fit into one of these diversity things, it's you, and that's why it's exciting, and that's why it's time for you to like step up and be like, all right, I'm going to give myself 6 weeks. I'm going to write this application. If I don't get it, they're going to give me feedback, and then I'm going to go harder and apply again. But in the process of making the application, you're going to speak to the MAC, or I'm going to speak to Charlotte because I know she's a dope writer, and then we're going to collaborate, and something new is going to be born along the process. So it's just like, I hope that all made sense. But I felt like I was talking for ages.
You sparked a question over here.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to ask, what was that place you said?
Yeah, so it's called While Out Open Mic Night. And the company's Namawa Change Formation. So if you look at NCF_Brum on Twitter or Instagram, it will come up.
Okay, thank you.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet, sweet.
I'm new to Birmingham, just starting a company,
Okay.
so I'm
Hi.
looking for different places.
Yeah. What's your company?
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's Ocean Arts Eclectic.
Lovely.
It's a arts and movement company.
Sweet.
Hoping to kind of do protest pieces to do with what's going on in the world at the moment, and focusing on, I feel like a lot of people ignore what's going on in the world, or watch it on the news and then carry on with their everyday life. And I want maybe another way that people can see what's going on, maybe, but make it fun and exciting.
Sweet.
And something that people can be attracted to. But, finding places that I can hopefully take my work to, and
Yeah.
different artists to collaborate with would be
So where have you come
pretty
from?
sweet.
Where have you
I'm
moved
from Devon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a
Dean's going to
Devonshire.
Devon.
You was talking about Devon? I love Devon.
Yeah, I love Devon. Yeah, it's like a little holiday place. But yeah, it's just not enough opportunities there. It's great for the arts when you're younger, I think, and
Yeah.
training, but when you want to start building a company, I've heard lots about Birmingham.
Yeah.
So
Has
it's
it-
great place.
Has it lived up to its reputation?
So
Yet.
far, yeah.
Yet.
I mean, I've literally moved here a week ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Right house.
Okay.
So I'm, kind of finding my bearings
Yeah,
and things.
cool.
But it's just, it's nice
I
actually.
think Birmingham's dope.
Birmingham is lovely.
Yeah.
I love it so far. It's really
Is everybody here obviously living in Birmingham, right? At the moment? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Say no.
No, just good.
Oh no, I thought you said no.
I don't know, yeah, I'm just from Coventry.
Okay.
Of course, with obviously I forgot to say, you are being filmed, so it's going out online. So if you could sum up Birmingham of what it has to offer for the creative industry, what could you say? I'd like, of
Great
course,
bus
you come to
links.
Birmingham.
Bus, the number 50 to Moseley is pretty frequent. It's good. Yeah. Getting around.
I think you've got good connections to a lot of kind of outsidery kind of communities. So like for me, a lot of my work is community based, and like you've got like you know, there's like Dudley and there's Wolverhampton and there's Worcester and there's like those kind of places which, you know, sometimes have good facilities, sometimes don't have good facilities, but you've got access to those communities so much easier living in Birmingham. And the nice thing as well is they, like especially the young people, they always seem so excited about the idea of coming to Birmingham and performing and working in Birmingham, and I think that is a really lovely thing that I think is quite individual to Birmingham, because, you know, you've got your kind of catchment people, so that's something that I like about Birmingham anyway.
I was going to say something similar as well. For me, definitely, it's about communities. So I think for me, Birmingham has always been a place where I could connect different communities together. It was quite easy to access personally different places, whether they were segregated or not, and put them together. Obviously with its own difficulties, but based on other cities I've worked in, Birmingham was for me, maybe because I knew it a lot more, I felt that was easier, and it was people were more accepting and they were more open to the idea of arts, using arts for, again, this social issues I explore, the charities I work in. So yeah, communities definitely is a big one. It's still upcoming. I think it's constantly going to, Birmingham keeps changing its image of the arts. There's always something new happening. Definitely youth-centric. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think we should go back. Go back a bit. I think I'm going to go around and see how did you get into what you're doing now. I think let's give it
From like when?
From any point of what made you where you are now, of how did you get here? How did you get here?
What made me?
Or what? How did you
get to
where you are now?
What do you mean, like how did I start?
How did you start here?
Oh, okay.
So,
I started quite late, to be fair. I was just, when I was like 17, I was just like, I wanted to be a professional swimmer for ages. And then I still had loads of energy, and the mum threw me into like a drama class on a Saturday morning, and then I gradually just quit everything. And then I studied is it called a HND here? HND?
Yeah, Higher National Diploma.
Yeah, is it still the same? Back in Edinburgh. And then I literally saw Birmingham School of Acting on Facebook and just got like a gut instinct of just, I'm going to go there. Because people think that London, obviously I think across the board as well, that London is the place to be. Everything happens in London because that's where the big actors go and the big performers go, which is rubbish, to be fair, because I think I moved to Birmingham because it was the up-and-coming city, and I still think, I think it was brushed upon, that it's still constantly evolving. And yeah, so I moved here, and I have absolutely no regrets at all, because I think it's a great city, and I'm very happy to be here. And even if you have to, it's kind of like a centre point for like different parts of England anyway, so like you don't have that far to travel to go to different parts. But I think there's so much going on. If you just look online, there's you know, script reading classes, free workshops, just type it on Google and you'll find something. But so I think that's what drew me towards Birmingham, and that's why I am here today.
Before we move on, are you currently writing a musical story?
Yeah, so I will be honest, because me and Charlotte lived together, not just us two, like as a student house, and we had and I think watching like a close friend sort of succeed with writing led me on to, you know, and there was a children's theatre festival in Edinburgh called, oh God, what's it called? Imaginate, thank you. And I've never been happier watching theatre in my life, so I've started writing a musical storytelling show for kids, which I'm sort of halfway through, but it's very difficult.
Sorry, can you tell me more about that festival in Edinburgh, please?
Yeah, it's called Imaginate, and it happens for the month. I don't know why I brought it up, because I don't really know that much about it. Basically, it's for like, I think it's for about a month at the Traverse Theatre in Edinburgh. And if you follow the Traverse on Twitter, they tend to update on what's coming up. But they have sort of shows from the age of about 5 to about 13. And they tend to have a lot of companies go back. And I think for the applied performance course, they have some opportunities to do, because I think Zoe did a placement there.
Yeah, she did.
So it's a very, very excellent opportunity for that.
It's the 26th of May to the 3rd of June.
day.
Got it. I said a month and that was so wrong. A week.
Sort of rough.
So it's for a period of time.
Yeah. Less than a month. Yeah. But yeah, that festival, I saw a few shows there, and it kind of inspired me to you know, get the pen and pad out.
So is that something that's been around since you were a child?
Yeah. I took my nephew there about 6 years ago, and he didn't like it, and I've been going back ever since. By myself, which is odd. But it's do you know what? It's an excellent and fairly underrated festival, I would say, in Edinburgh. But definitely check it out.
Tom,
Yeah, where I started.
where you started?
So, same story. I wasn't interested in swimming, but I was more interested in kind of sitting in parks, getting into trouble. Did that for a long time, and then about 16, 17, the energy kind of needed to be directed in a different place. So just like your casual kind of amateur dramatics, didn't really take that very seriously. Then I was a semi-professional musician for 4 to 5 years. I toured all over the country, released records. That was great. Stopped doing that, and I was kind of like, I need something to do now. Still had my interest in drama, so I started running a program in Northampton for young people with learning disabilities. I was like, I'm really enjoying this. This is great. Is there any way that I can continue kind of tuition and kind of make a career out of this? I found the applied theatre course at Birmingham School of Acting, and the rest is history. That's what I went and did. Yeah, so that's what I did.
How did you get into Outspoken?
How did I get into Outspoken? I made it. No. So when the last year of my degree, kind of again the university kind of rebranding its marketing into what we can do for you once you leave. The kind of hole in the market was that we create something for graduate students. How do we employ graduates and give them jobs straight out of university, whether that's as performers, facilitators, or kind of directing them into a vocation that they kind of want to go for. So that's what we did. Yeah, we made a company, employed graduate performers, also using undergraduate performers as well, to give them work experience. And then we've continued to do that ever since. The majority of our work is social, politically based. Our last piece was a show called Height around young mental health that engaged up to 700 young people in the Worcestershire and Birmingham area. Before that, we had Catfish that looked at child sexual exploitation in Birmingham, internet grooming, things like that. Heterophobia, which was based around sexuality, homosexuality, a binary switch.
I just went like this.
Yeah.
I had to put the hands up.
So yeah, very busy, and it's all about engaging young people as well, and making sure that young people have an opportunity to be engaged with something that maybe challenges them in a way that other theatre necessarily does not. And yeah, there you go.
And more about Outspoken, how does it work? How do you choose the theme? How do you go for it?
How do we choose the theme?
What's the spark?
What's the spark? The majority of my work at the moment is in schools, and kind of has been for the past 2 or 3 years. And when you're around young people day to day, you kind of basically pick up the kind of themes and attitude towards their social climate at the moment. And then on the outside of that, you also then have what I think is kind of like the perceived idea of what young people are going through at the minute. You know, young people feel this way because of this. People are very angry at the moment because of this. And when you kind of take those preconceived ideas into schools and ask young people about them, you'll kind of 9 times out of 10 find out the truth about how they really feel about those things. So we take those issues as a devising company, we then take them into the rehearsal room, begin to find characters, ways around exploring them, lots of different methodologies in doing that. And then we create a show, invite lots of schools, invite lots of young people. Normally, typically with the funding that we get, we try to offer the shows for free for schools, which is a hell of an incentive for for young people in schools to be able to come and see something for free. And now kind of as the methodology of digital interactive theatre progresses, that opens doors for even wider audiences to be able to engage with your work. You know, you think if you can get a theatre full of 300 young people, but you can then also have another 200, 300 participating in the classroom via live link or however you do that, I think that's a great thing. Yeah.
Particularly setting up a theatre company, how?
Oh man, you keep me going now.
Sorry, I'll give you one more. How was that? How did you find it?
How did I find it? I personally didn't find it too difficult because we had great links in terms of funders, and also previous applications and things like that had already been incredibly successful. However, I think if you're a newbie, you're going to find it difficult. Associate artists, friends of mine, they've kind of attached themselves to venues, I think is the best way. So they've kind of got their foot in the door with the venue. They've then turned around to the venue and said, hey, I'm incredibly passionate about making this type of work. If I put forward an application to the Arts Council, would you vouch for me, or indeed be able to kind of thicken that, pad it out for me? And that's how they've been successful. But I think, again, if you're a first timer and you're kind of, as we've already said, you've just got to go for it, and if you fail, keep going. Also, match funding, I think, is incredibly underrated. If you can find a business or you can find an organisation who kind of even just echo the same kind of ethos as the work that you're trying to put out there, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a charity. So like if you had like Mind, a mental health charity, you may be able to go to them and ask for a bit of match funding. But even if you could find a local business and go, and you know, who might be owned by a family friend or something, and go to them and say, look, you know, I'm really interested in this type of work, would you match fund what I'm doing? You know, you put 50 in, I'll put 50 in, and we'll go from there. Try it, who knows? Who knows? If not, I don't know, busk. Something, do whatever you can to try and get that money. That is the reality of it, I think.
And busking has been contemplated a few times.
Yeah.
Any questions before?
Sorry, could you just, because I'm very new to this and obviously trying to find, with the match funding, so if you find someone and you say, you know, and you find someone, it's basically finding
So a
someone
50-50
with a
in a
similar,
way.
yeah,
Similar
thoughts
interests.
and ideas,
Yeah, and
and then just
I don't know if you use much funding.
A bit. I think what we've tended to do is, because we found that our Arts Council applications have been more successful the less money you ask for,
Yeah.
but also the more support you've got. So I would say that having stuff in kind, so even if they're not necessarily giving money, that will strengthen any application. Well, in my experience, it will strengthen your application to Arts Council. So if, say, venues, and it could be anything, it could be PA systems, it could be whatever you need for the project. There are a lot of people with a lot of things that they can offer you things, but I would say, in my experience, I've done more with in-kind stuff, and like little pockets of money. So getting a few, like,
See,
50s,
I would disagree with that.
That's
Obviously,
fine.
that's
No,
your
no, no,
experiences
that's fine.
and mine experiences. I would say it takes the same amount of energy and the same amount of planning to put in an application for 5k or 50k. The only thing that changes is the zeros, and the actual delivery process is slightly different. There are differences, but the energy is the same thing, and I think the person making the decision is potentially the same person, they're reading the same thing, so go for what you want to go for, work out how much you need to go for. And then I think, I would say my experience is where I've been funded by Arts Council and other funders is, I feel like I got the applications based on my references, based on my letter of support, and I just had an amazing reference, and I think I worked hard for that reference. I worked for him for 6 months and had him telling me what to do, how to do it, and do this and do that. Creatively, things I wanted to do, but also things that I didn't want to do, like we were saying before, the stuff that you've got to do. But if I didn't work hard for him and I didn't build that relationship with him, I wouldn't have got a reference. in the same way with the same amount of passion and merit. And I think, yeah, it's like it matches what you're doing, what you're putting into it. I think. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
But add on as much in terms of additionally to an application, when you actually have the project, try and add on as much merchandise or anything that can bring you revenue in. And that's something that's really underrated, and it's something that's so easy to do. You know, if you can get some t-shirts printed, you can get like, I know this is really sad, but like some stationery, we all love a good pen, right? Like badges, anything like that, 50p, a pound, it will bring you money in that can either go into a little pot for your next project, or you can, I don't know, go and get something nice to eat or something. But still, you know what I mean? It helps, it massively helps, and these are things that you don't realise until you're a couple of years in, well for me anyway, you know, that, oh yeah, I can make some more money by doing this. Free workshops, doesn't necessarily have to be free all the time, you know.
I've done a few free workshops already whilst I've been
Yep.
up here, one a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
and kind of tried to start getting merchandise together. But I think for me, because I'm new to the city, it's contacts now.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to try and get myself to workshops and
Yeah.
get myself
You
out
should.
there.
You've got a good energy. You should check out like places like Impact Hub. Have you heard of that yet? Yeah. So it's literally like 10-minute walk away. Impact Hub, and they are a house of just amazingness. Really, there's lots of different small businesses and independent startups, and you can hot desk there, and they put on events. Where else other than Impact Hub is dope? You should check out Beat Freaks. They're a cool organisation. Beat Freaks.
You just really, I think you're really fortunate. You're really fortunate because, as Dean said, there's such a community in Birmingham of, unfortunately, sometimes the same faces,
Yeah.
but we're all here, and we're all here because
Can we use the badges as
25
well,
years ago, the foundations that the art scene was built on here in Birmingham was fantastic, and it continues to grow because we all stay in the same community, and that's a wonderful
I
thing.
can feel that because I came up for a workshop and various other reasons, and then
Yeah.
through that I could just feel there was a certain energy here that just I thought I need to be here. This
Cool.
is where I'm gonna hopefully. So yeah, hopefully, thank you.
I would also put Gap Arts. It's slightly
Yes.
different. To, yeah.
I've
Yeah.
actually they're hoping to maybe I might become a resident there.
Yeah,
a resident
lovely.
I was going to say because they're very upcoming and they're smaller than Beat Freaks and Impact Hub, but you've got more potential there.
Yeah, Gap Arts, they've been really helpful actually.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you?
How did I?
Yeah.
How did I get here? It's a deep question, isn't it? It's a really,
it's a
really
very deep question.
Today.
So I guess I've always been a performer artist, performing like with my family, and I started writing music with my partner at the time, and we used to just jam, and like through uni I would write little bits in voice class or little bits for like device work that we was working on, and then I kind of started going to open mics, and people just had like a really good reaction. And I think I'm big on energy and vibe more now than I was then, but I think some things are just resonant, and I think that that's what was happening, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. So yeah, I was doing open mics and then started working with local musicians who'd seen me perform and wanted to get involved with what I was doing. And then I started, so at that point, I was still calling myself Lauren everywhere I go, because that's my name, Lauren. But I went through this weird transition stage where I was like trying to identify myself as an artist and as a woman, and the woman that I wanted to be like, and all of these things. And I started just looking around identity, as I said before. So Namiwa Jazz came up and came through a process. I'm sure me and my housemates like picked it in a taxi. I think we was on the way to the Country Girl or something like that. Like, so anyway, that happened, and like at that point I was like, right, I'm an artist now. I've got my artist name. I've got my little setup that we're doing, and we're just gonna go out and see what happens. And some great stuff happened. Like, I was just really fortunate to support great artists and play some really, really cool festivals. And yeah, I think like right from the offset of releasing music, like I had support straight away from BBC Introducing, and they played the music on Radio 1 and stuff like that, and it was just like, again, that me not realising the resonance, or me not realising it and then responding to things afterwards and being like, oh, actually there's something there, there's a vibe there. And then just going away, working harder, building my band, and yeah, and then I feel like I'm here now, but I'm here in two, like I'm split, because I feel like, but in a good way, like I feel like I've got music and that's me, and that's like my art form and what I want to explore. And obviously I have really big aspirations with my music career in terms of like who I write for, and who writes for me, and mainstream or not mainstream, you know, I've got big aspirations for that. But then it's like the other side of me of how did I get here is like I'm here because of struggle, and I'm here because of my people have been oppressed and other women have been oppressed, and that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to solve issues with. So the other part of me is here in the struggle, because it's like I'm battling. There's something to say, there's people to stand up for, and something to do. So yeah.
And what about your Change Foundation? The My Change Foundation. Can you just talk more about that one, the vision of that one?
Yeah, so the vision really is to become a cultural centre point. So I would like there to be an energy around what's happening in Birmingham, but with more focus around Black and Asian women. I think there's a lack of arts provision on offer. There's a lack of music venues and arts venues in general, but of the ones that are here and that do exist, they don't regularly programme work from BAME artists or produce, or even take in work from touring BAME companies. And rather than, I guess, just ignoring that and just going off to venues that do want me, and which I think this is a balance, because you do need to do that. You need to stop worrying about who doesn't want you and go to where you wanted. But also it's like, in doing that, it's like we're creating our own thing, its own space. It's naturally evolved as a network. It's naturally evolved as a network. But I do work just as hard on it as I do my music. So like right now, we've got a gallery exhibition of While Out at Gap Arts Projects, which is why I was like, oh my God, Gap! And that's like a creative reflection space where we can look at the community through pictures and through art, and think and feel. But it's just in a poor space at the moment, because I'm myself going to Arts Council and Big Lottery and Heritage Lottery and having these conversations, and it's like Tom said, there's one pot of money, everybody's already eating from that. What makes you different? How does that make you different? And I think, like I was saying earlier, like Arts Council don't know about While Out. They don't know these women. They've never met them before, and that's the thing that I think we found that's different. But equally, I'm saying that not to make you think that that's something that's unattainable for you. I want you to understand that it's the same for you as well. Like whatever you're on, whatever they don't know, if you're the difference, then that's the thing they're looking for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm getting really hot.
Can I ask a question about your own performance? So now that you have been successful and you are a successful recording artist, how do you feel about going back and performing yourself at open mic nights and putting yourself back as somebody with those people trying to make it, and how do you find that? Do you feel like you're selling out as a performer, or do you feel like you still want to do that and that's still as exciting?
I think as an artist right now, I'm more particular about where I perform, and how that's organised, and money. Yeah, straight up. Like there's got to be
incentive there.
Yeah, definitely. But it doesn't mean I didn't perform at While Out Open Mic. Obviously, it wasn't about me. It was set up to be a space for other people, for one. but 2, I didn't perform there, and I don't usually perform at open mics, but that's partly because my setup is a full live band. So there's practical reasons, and then there's other reasons why I wouldn't necessarily.
So I think it's really important as artists. It's great, especially for actors, that there is that whole underground scene where you can go and you can do things,
Yeah.
but you're also a professional performer.
Yeah.
Like, in another place, someone will pay me to do this, and it's not about being arty about it.
Yeah,
It's about being truthful about, I can be in your show, or I can come and perform for you, but I'm not just free.
Yeah, there's levels, there's levels, and that's what I'm saying in terms of like the free workshops. If you get Arts Council funding to put on a performance, great, but if there's workshops afterwards, charge. You know, you get, it's all well, it's, as you said, it's all well and good, you know, being able to offer stuff for free, but there comes a time when you have to stop doing that, I'm
I
afraid.
think sometimes as a performer, some people are so desperate to perform, they'll just, you know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but that's about them.
That's
Yeah.
definitely a thing. That's definitely a thing. I think you do kind of, you want it, don't you? And there's still people that I speak to now, consultancy agencies that I speak to, and even I have to tell myself when I'm on the phone, just calm down, like, just breathe. Like, this man is not, even if I was talking to Simon Cowell, still calm down, like, just because they've got the connections, they've got the skills, the money, the contacts to radically change my life, doesn't mean that I'm gonna, like, give everything to this man on the phone. Like, you can't have that attitude. You've got to really just, what you were saying right at the beginning, like, get back to who you are, get back to yourself, know what you're doing, and get comfortable with talking about money. That's what I'm saying, like, £5,000 on the application and £50,000 is like saying to yourself, or you could look at it like saying to yourself, okay, I'm worth a tenner. I don't think any of you would agree that I think we'd all agree that I'm worth more than £10, right?
Yeah.
But I would agree the same for you, but it's like, I might then move that on and say I'm worth 2.6 million, and some of you might look at me and be like, no you ain't. And others might be like, I'm a little bit more, but to me I'm 2.6. So I have to say that with my chest and be like, walk in the room, treat everybody. I think someone who has 2.6 million, to be quite honest, would treat everybody exactly the same. So that's how I live, like, the price I've put on myself.
I think that's, just to chip in there, sorry, that's a big one, because especially when you're talking about self-confidence as well. As a freelancer, whichever sector, whatever you're trying to do with your passion projects, you have to understand your value. So process in itself, you have to relearn and learn actually how much am I worth. I struggled with that a lot, just like you guys. Then I remember using that scenario, hang on, well, how much would I rate my friend? If my friend was as passionate or as skilled or as knowledgeable as I was, how much would I value her? And you'd most likely value her a lot more than you value yourself. So put that value back on yourself. Because that's a massive thing. We undervalue ourselves as artists or as freelancers or whatever we're doing. And that shows in your applications. It shows when you're, telling people, oh, come work for us, come, I want to do this, I want to do that. If you're not putting yourself there, most likely no one else will see you like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really hard especially in like an applied field of work. It's really difficult because I see the people it's having an effect on, and that's hard. If somebody says, I can only give you this much money to do this project, and I can see all those lovely little faces of young people like, we are crying out for this work, it's difficult to say no. Really difficult to say no. So
Some of the poor schools in Birmingham and the
Yeah.
poor places in Birmingham.
yeah,
You go there and you think these are the kids that need it most.
yeah. But then, you go home and you've got bills to pay, and you've got your own reality, and you have to kind of, work your way around that. But I can't help you there. I'm afraid. Sorry.
How did I get to where I am? It's weird actually, because I don't really, I suppose on the panel, it's very strange to be like, because I still feel so kind of new to this, like it's so new and fresh. I suppose how I got to BSA is kind of the starting point. I just did Amdram, loved it, and it was kind of a bit of an act of rebellion because my mum is she has a maths doctorate. My brother's hugely into maths, and so I was like, I like drama, so I'm going to drama school. And then I kind of got to drama school, and like I kind of came across the applied performance world, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is a lot more than I thought. And I've always been kind of like politically engaged and like into kind of social issues and stuff, and I've always kind of, I mean, I'm originally from the Isle of Wight, and it's a very kind of middle class kind of overlook, but then you live there for a certain amount of time and you kind of see the underworks of it. And I saw a lot of unhappy people for a lot of time, and I think working with those people in the theatre world, you just see this kind of like, they shed their kind of outside worry skin and they come out and they are passionate about the theatre, and that was something that I really wanted to clock onto. So as soon as I got to BSA, that was something that I immediately engaged in, and because there's so many different communities in Birmingham, it like just always just motivated me in that sense. And I think I've always wanted to, I'm a big kind of positivity person, I think, like, and that's kind of what's made me here now, because I care about other people and I care about other communities, and I don't really know what else I can say about that, because that's just kind of how I feel. But yeah.
And with Little Creepers, obviously, you wrote that.
I did.
yourself, and,
Yes.
how was it, not talking about the concept of itself, how was it going on tour, taking it on tour, and what was your experience?
I think at the beginning of Little Creepers, so for those who don't know, I won't blame you at all, it is a one-woman show about a teenage schizophrenic, and I use the term schizophrenic in whatever way you want to use it. And I think the first kind of thing of that was very, other people were reading my writing, and at that point I was quite poorly, and people were reading my writing and going, oh, this is really good, but I was a bit like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And I was really kind of pushed to be like, right, finish the play, finish this, kind of, and it all, now looking back at it, feels very kind of like I wasn't really there, because it was all such a kind of whirlwind thing. And I was really lucky actually, because my business partner, Rebecca, is super clued on to like kind of the producing world, and she really loves that kind of logistic stuff, but I'm a bit of an airy-fairy person, and so I was a bit like, oh, okay, this is cool. And so kind of teamed together, she took the show and programmed this tour, and it was fab. I mean, we learned a hell of a lot, and I think if we did it again, we wouldn't do anything we did. It would be completely different if we did it now, but as a learning experience, I think taking it on tour and just going for it, and like there was no choice, like the show was going on tour, whether I was there or not, the show was going. So I think, the process of it was a bit bizarre. I don't know if I've answered your question at all, but like it was a really good learning experience. And I think if you have an opportunity like that, and if you produce some work that, even if like now, because the thing is for Little Creepers, like it feels like I wrote it so long ago, like it feels like forever, and it isn't current anymore for me. So when I was watching it, I was like, oh, for goodness sake, here we go again. But I think the passion is still there for other people, and they were still seeing it for the first time. So like the process then became about the audience and about everyone else. And selfishly, when it first started, I was like, this is about me. But so it was definitely a learning curve in terms of that. I think that's it.
Manic Arts, how's that?
Yeah,
How's
it's
your
alright.
experience with that? How did you get into?
Well, that was something that, so I think I briefly said it earlier, we kind of started it in our second year of BSA, because we kind of had that kind of mid-uni crisis where we were like, what are we doing? I have no idea. We don't know what we want to do. And we kind of like, we were at the placement, we did our second year placement at the MAC in Birmingham, which is a lovely place. And we were kind of just, we saw a lot of the kind of behind the scenes logistical stuff, and we just found that we both really loved like the community engagement side of that and the education sector in terms of the arts. And so we just kind of started it up as a little kind of, let's give it a go. And then with Little Creepers and with the whole thing, we kind of started to build it, and then we got a commission from the Mighty Creative for the Emerge programme, which is a kind of a Shakespeare community festival project, where we go into several schools in Halesowen and in Sandwell, and we work with the young people to create their own their own festival. So it's completely kind of student-led, and yeah, so we've been doing that, and then we've also been working with Time to Change and Mind, and kind of doing some mental health workshops and confidence stuff with them. I think, yeah, we've always been very open to kind of whatever's kind of coming, because we still are very new, so this is all still quite alien. So we're just trying to take as many opportunities as we can and kind of whittle down what we still want to do within the kind of remit of what we've got already. Yeah.
Any questions?
It sounds like you've built something really successful really quickly and been able to reach a lot of people, and do you think that's because of the content of that first play that people kind of switched onto you as being that kind of mental health go-to?
Yeah, I think it was never the intention to be the mental health go-to, but I think because we learned so much, like you say, quite quickly about the mental health kind of the needs of the mental health communities, for want of a much better term. I think, yeah, we kind of clued onto that quite quickly, and then when other kind of people were interested in going into that type of mental health work, they would come to us and be like, oh, so what did you find? And then by the process, we'd end up kind of going in and working with those communities as well. Yeah, we didn't intend for it to be that way, but actually naturally that's kind of happened. And I think because now we see the need for that work, and it's kind of like what you were saying before, when you see those people in front of you that need that work, it then switches you on to wanting to be there. So we've kind of tried our best to kind of make that work, and yeah, be there as much as possible. Yeah.
It's my turn. I genuinely struggled with this question. I'm really confused how I got here. It's not conventional. It's like it's a big bit of a mess, nice mess. So I think for me personally, growing up, arts was not present. Grew up in a migrant community. We barely had access to education, so arts, let alone, was a very different world. But I remember I became very interested in illustration and just always scribbling away. And I remember being very aware of how that was helping me. You know, whether I had my own issues or whether, I was struggling at school or whatever, that was my getaway. So I think, much like yourself, you're not really aware of what you're going through at the time. So that always clicked with me, that there was something in the arts that was really going to be my escape. And then, yeah, I did GCSE art, went to A-level. On the academic level, could not choose art because it wasn't a paid job, and it was, again, in the migrant community, it was about getting out and getting, a degree or getting a job that's going to pay you. Arts was a waste of time at the time for me. So yeah, it was just like, oh, I can't do art, so I didn't do it in my first year. Rebelled, second year, did art. Didn't tell my parents because they'd freak out because I was doing like 5 A-levels, that meant, which was like a lot. So yeah, and then I went to university. Wanted to do art, but again, it wasn't paid, and the struggle was money, so I was like, okay, I'm going to choose a job that's going to pay me. At the time, marketing was on a big peak in Birmingham, so I was like, okay, I'll be marketing and business, and I loved it, and it had the creative side. Could do a lot of illustration within that, with social media, websites. So that's so I got a good job at university, did all that, but something always put me back into the arts. I always found a way, because you mentioned Mac, and I remember my first way back in was Mac. They needed someone in marketing to promote the arts for young people, talk about diversity and inclusion, and do outreach. And that was my way back in. I was doing marketing for amazing MAC. For those who don't know, it's an amazing place, organisation. And then from there, I didn't really stop. I carried on going. Just found my way within the arts sector, the youth sector, charity. And quite messy, but yeah, just I think my focal point is making sure whatever I do, use my skills within a socially conscious environment to fight a cause or fight something, a niche, a social issue or something. So yeah, that's how I got here. I just keep saying yes to projects that appeal to me and keep going.
So what was your experience with NCS?
Yes. So I began working, again, when you're an artist or you're doing freelancing or you're trying to get contracts or projects, you need jobs on the side, you need to hustle. So NCS was one of those for me first. It became something else later on. I started as this very casual summer job. Discovered another way of using non-formal methods to engage young people that were coming from socially economically deprived backgrounds or had mental health issues. Fabulous organisation, NCS, and then they promoted me to a diversity and inclusion specialist. So I was like, oh my god, this is not good. But yeah, it's gonna be messy. But again, another learning curve, and it was a great job. So I really learned actually how I can apply a lot of things I didn't necessarily think they were going to match. In schools, they don't tell you that this is going to make sense, it's going to match. But the dots were beginning to connect. That's the thing, you can't really plan ahead, you just got to go with the flow. So yeah, NCS made sense that I was doing this outreach stuff in an environment that was working on social issues with art methods, non-formal methods. So it was amazing, and then again, didn't really stop from there. Usually do contracts with them when I can. Yeah, when I'm able to.
Any questions? No? Okay. If I could, obviously if it did exist, time travel, you could go back and change something. I feel like I can put you on the spot all the time here. But if you could, or if you couldn't, if you wanted to change something about your university experience, what would it be?
Someone else go first.
We'll go this way.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I'm okay with that question actually. I think I don't like to look at what I would change. I don't really believe in going back and having regrets or changing anything. I guess what would a lesson that I take forward that I maybe missed out on. For me personally, was I was practicing as a child and doing A levels, and I stopped. I mean, when I went to uni, I mean to stop. So even now, I'm in the art world, like doing my thing and figuring it out. I'm not practicing. So I regret that it's very, very important to do what you love and practice your art. So even when you are practicing art, sometimes you have to sacrifice what a project you really want to do to a project that's going to get funded, to a project that is relevant, that is current. You might want to have to do a project that's about social issues or tick box, but that's maybe not necessarily what you want to do. So I'm at that stage of actually I want to now start practicing as well. So yeah, so no, it's not really a regret because I'm happy with my journey. That's the way it was, but something I would add for the future. Start practicing when you're out.
Again, I don't think I would necessarily change anything, but I think I wish that self-belief was a thing that I clocked onto sooner. But then I suppose actually if I had have done that, then maybe I wouldn't be where I am now. But like, I think it's very important to champion yourself, and like that is something that I've 100% learned. Because when you're like kind of, feels like you're like punting in the wilderness, and you're like, I've got to do this. This is for me. And now that's how it feels. But when I was at uni, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do my writing. I don't want to do this. And I feel like I was very, very fortunate in the way that I had a lot of people championing me, and telling me that I was good enough and telling me that my work was good. But I wish that I could have seen that for myself sooner, so that I could maybe make some, good changes to my work and make it better, but yeah, I don't know, yeah, that's my answer, I think.
In all honesty, I think I wouldn't change anything about myself or about what I learned. I think I just wouldn't be in a relationship. I was in a relationship at the time for the majority of from I was 15 till I was 21. I was with this guy, right? And it was a great. While we were there, we were friends and we were intimate, and it was a relationship. It's what it was. But just looking back, I feel like, yeah, there's just focus on your books, man. Just focus on what you're doing, and if you can help not being in love with somebody at the time, then do that, because I think it takes a lot of energy, and I didn't realise until I got out of that relationship, until I'd left uni and was a year on, I was like, what's that, oxygen? Like, I can breathe, do you know what I mean? And those are the things I just learned afterwards. So yeah, just don't be in a relationship, be single, focus on your books, get a first. I didn't get a first, and I kick myself now
because of that relationship.
Yeah, but really and truly, it probably was. Like, there is probably some truth of that. I was too busy with him at the time when I could have been I could have been going to get my first, you know what I mean? I'm happy with my grades that I did get and my edge, like I said, what I learned, what I know. But, you know, I would like to say that I got first.
Just don't be in a relationship.
There'll be a lot of heartbreaks tonight.
Process. Yeah, wouldn't change the process. I would advise process. Take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. So yes, I would change something because I definitely didn't do that. So yeah, I would. Yeah, just I would go back and take all of the opportunities that I turned down, as small as they were, just to even go along and just take part in a workshop that I didn't really like the subject matter. You know, I would go back and do that. However, once I graduated, my tip would be stand up for yourself, and I think that's definitely along the lines of what Charlotte was saying, and a lot of people have said up here today, is that champion yourself and stand for something, because if not, you will forever just be doing stuff for free or for less than you should. And you're fresh out of university, you should be eager to go, you should be passionate, you should be clued up into what you're going into. If you're not, re-up, sort yourself out, get your head in the game, and then stand for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm here to do a job, you've got other people here who are walking around like they just wish they could go home forever. You know, I want to do this, I'm here to do something, so yeah, that would be my advice. Pick yourself up.
Again, when change, I think there was a lot of missed opportunities. I always, from sort of like day one, I had no idea why the actors in the app course never worked together. I genuinely found this bewildering, because I was like, the app course is a lot, you know, theatre companies have been formed, they want to make companies. I don't understand, we want to be employed by people like you. And that was the one thing that really annoyed me, is like, because our courses got on well in our year, I would have tried to push some kind of like collaboration with a end of second year project, whereas you start your own theme, bring us in, and then we do something together. That's something that I would have liked to have pushed, personally. And I think in second year as well, I went through a bit of a little bit of a slump in second year. So I think, and I found it hard to do with self-belief as well, but being able to pick yourself up when you've been kicked to the curb. I think you've got to have a lot of bottle, and you've got to have a lot of confidence in yourself to get yourself back up and get like working hard again. So don't let anyone put you down.
When you say you picked yourself up and things, I know at the end of the day it's you who has control over your own emotions and how you feel. But what did you do to help yourself, to motivate yourself? Kind of, because I mean, without obviously going into detail, because it's all strange. But you know, I was at uni and I've actually left. I was at a dance school in Leeds, and I left because I got very ill and things, and fell out of love, you know, with dance and art, and I felt kind of as if I didn't have the right support around me there. It wasn't the right place for me. So now I'm at that stage where I've got all these ideas coming to me, but it's getting that confidence, I think, and that stage of, okay, how do I push myself to get to that level where I can start to, build my confidence and build this company. How would you, sorry, it's quite a...
From my perspective, I just went back to the bare roots of going to see a piece of theatre that's going to inspire me. Because there's no better feeling than walking out the theatre being like, I'm so glad I'm doing this. There's just that little just uplift you have in yourself, being like that. I'm so glad I'm doing that, and I can do that. Just that little thing is all it took. Because when you're down in the dumps, you just pile on this and this and this makes me feel sad and da 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 da. But it's only took me a little thing to get me back up on my feet again. And the kind of like I will prove you wrong attitude as well, I think is very important.
Yeah.
I think you've got to just be like that.
Yeah.
No, I will succeed, and I'll show you why, and I'll show you how I will. And it'll honestly, for me, it gave me a bit of a fire in my belly.
I'd just say on that, massively strengthen your support systems. Your resilience is never going to be just an individual thing. You need people around you, and you need support systems to empower that resilience, because it runs out. As an individual, it will run out, and you can't rely on motivation, because motivation is fleeting, right? It's no different to, it's like,
You have to find the
yeah,
motivation around you.
today I don't feel motivated, so I can, you know, go on YouTube and listen to something that's going to motivate me, but it's only going to motivate me for 24 hours. And then tomorrow I'm going to wake up and feel the same thing. So if you treat motivation as just an emotion, you can learn how to get a discipline that will keep you on the right track. And I think the starting point of that is resilience, and building those support networks and being able to speak to other people. So like, as Dean's saying, with going to the theatre and seeing something, if you know sometimes that dance is the last thing you want to think about, and why am I interested in this, and all of your negativity starts to get pushed onto the one thing that you actually flow with and you feel free in the moment with, you've got to find a way around that. And that might be hitting up some people at Gap or Beat Freaks or something like that. Can I come along? Can I come and see something? Even just a conversation. But it's recognising it and making sure that you know you've got people around you who feel the same way. And I think as artists, if there's no artists in the room, you may feel the same, but I think specifically as artists, we're tender, you know, we really are, and we feel, and we fluctuate a hell of a lot. 1 minute we're up, the next minute we're down, and you've got to find a way around that, because you've got to survive. You know, you've still got to go to work, you've still got to do those things. And
I think even being here though, and being able to learn how you guys built your lives in the arts and really made something of it, and it helps. It's inspiring, and it helps to have that confidence within myself. I can't speak for everyone, but it's great. So thank you.
Sorry, just following on from what Dean was saying about, like, obviously your year group with the actors were very close. Our year group had a completely different experience. Like, we got there and there was a sense of arrogance, I think. Third year it's a bit different, because now they're coming to us asking us for advice and stuff, and it's like, oh, funny that. 2 years ago you thought that you were better than us, and there was like a massive sense of, like, we didn't have, like, I've got friends on the acting course and I'm quite close with them, but that's because I've gone out and made those relationships happen. I think it wouldn't have happened if they wouldn't have come, and like, I've gone to see their shows, but they've not come and watched ours, and it's all, I don't know whether, like, a lot of the time they don't even know that we're doing them. So I don't know whether that's something within the university that needs sorting, but it kind of felt, just for me personally, that we were the course that no one really gave a shit about, in terms of like uni, like not in terms of the tutors, but in terms of like, there were definite like hierarchies, and you could sense the hierarchies, and it's kind of changed over 3 years, because now we're the employable ones and the ones that have all these skills. And I had one of the actors come up to me, and he wanted to do this project, and he was like, oh, I want to do this, well, have you thought about this and this? He goes, no, we weren't taught that. So
I think it's choice. I mean, like, you know, my lecturers, obviously Phillips, Kerry, Francois, like, you know, I was focused on what I was doing. Like I said, I was in my own bubble. I'm quite an introverted person anyway. I'll be polite to everybody, but I'm not really here to make friends. I'm here to crack on what we're here to do. But I just feel like that was Phillips's attitude. She directed the course and the program as like, right, we're doing this regardless to everything else around. So it's nice to have togetherness. I appreciate togetherness and communitas and community, but equally we're studying how to celebrate difference, and we're studying that we are different. Like, we are the employable ones, I'm not going to lie, like, because in my opinion we are, and that's why I chose the course. But it doesn't mean other people aren't employable.
But you're dealing with a very difficult climate, and you have to take that into consideration, because it trickles all the way down from the top, all the way down to the students in the university. For your year group, for Charlotte and Dean, it's completely different. 3 years previous to that, we never sat in the same room, we didn't speak to one another. With acting students, it was completely different, and that's because there was an attitude in the university from the acting point of view and the acting world that community theatre is lesser. Now that same kind of attitude is completely the same in the community movement as it is from the actors. Well, you know, the kind of the example you gave, we're the ones that get work, so. But that's an offensive attitude towards actors, because there's a lot of actors who have no work. You know, they're working in Sainsbury's 9 to 5 until another audition comes up. They're struggling just as much as we are.
Yeah,
so until you can kind of funnel that, I don't know, prejudice out of universities, you're never going to change that.
That's my
But
point,
that's
yeah.
incredibly difficult because of the money that is involved.
No, I completely agree. I
The
think if
money
they
in
had
the
a
industry
collaboration
is a big
thing
thing.
together, they could appreciate each other's courses and like really learn together. And I think that.
But
would
then
be
you start
something
messing
big.
things up, because you have like an organisation like the Rep or a
Yeah.
venue, they're not going to start programming community work. What, when they're getting £50,000 to get a touring show to come in? That's just an estimate, don't know if it is. But do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a political game, and the devices of that trickle all the way down into the university. So I think it's a wonderful thing that now that collaboration is happening, because it's very sad that it doesn't, to be able to offer people to inspire one another.
Yeah.
You know, that's already going on. That's great.
I think like
I
it.
think the vibe here though is you're learning about how to reach out to other people.
Yeah.
And so the first people you want to reach out to are people that are in the studios next door,
Yeah.
and you want to include them in your thing because that's what you're learning about. Whereas the actors are pulling themselves apart and rebuilding themselves as a new beast of a performer. And so you kind of, one is an outreaching, outlooking course of how do I change other people's lives, and the other one is a self-motivated course of how do I make myself better as an actor. And so your head's in a different space and you're thinking about different things when you're on those two courses and journeys. So I think that can mess
Are
out
you an app
how
student?
much you account.
Are you an applied performance student?
I'm a director.
You're a director?
Yeah.
Okay. So how's it, so I mean, like, how do you
I've
see it?
worked with both courses and with both sort of groups of people, and I think that there's a very different headspace.
Yeah. How do you see that? Do you feel there's a different headspace as an actor from an act, like director to actors? Do you feel there's a different headspace in how we approach our careers?
Yeah, I think obviously the way, because some people have asked me some people from an outside perspective know what an acting course is but don't have a clue what applied performance is, and they'll go, what's the difference? And I'll say, actors perform theatre already written, and applied performance want to make change, and they want to make change, and they want to make people aware of current issues today. That was my rough kind of breakdown, because we didn't get told anything about the applied performance course. And you know, there's the stereotype of the actors being very egotistical, which is true. I'm not going to lie, it is true, because we kind of have to be, because the confidence thing is difficult because
you're going in a lookbook.
Well,
You're coming
exactly.
out of there 3 years and you're going into a lookbook.
literally, you
That's
just
why.
go on to another 2,000 graduates,
Yeah.
and there's that thing. I get taught not to shy away. People are like, "Can you sing?" And you go, "Yeah, I can sing," which is crap, because you've got to have, yes, I can, because people want confidence. I've totally strayed off your question here, but I think there is a different headspace, but I think we can find some form of relatability. We are all doing the same thing because we love it. We're all doing the same thing because we want to either make people happy or make change. And I think you can find a small, even if it's the most minute detail. That's why I wanted to collab, because I think we have more in common than we think. Maybe not all, but I think some. I knew from day one that I was just like that. Applied performance are more important than us, because they could be giving us a wage in 10 years, and we need to appreciate that, and I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, the institution. I found the major problem before was the quality of work. I think, and that was kind of normally the actors and actresses' gripe with a lot of the applied work, was that the acting's terrible, the performance was terrible, the ideas were great. We love what you're doing. It's so wonderful that you're doing things for the community, but you know, where's the acting? Where's the practice? I don't know if
it's true.
To be fair,
People are like, oh, the flow of the speech was off, and I'm like, that's not why this is. Do you know what I mean? Like, people, they're looking at it from like a Shakespearean point of view.
But in that collaboration, it should be. Well, of course.
Because
Because if
yeah.
you can offer something that can improve the performers of an applied nature, then of course.
Yeah, well, a lot of applied theatre out in the world is taking ideas from the community, taking ideas and then using professional actors to play those
Correct.
parts, to bring that theatre to life. So by using the professional or training to be professional actors, you could get that sense of the ideas coming from somewhere else, but then building that theatre through. And using the writers on the
as
course.
writers as well, different viewpoints can always help. Having different people look at it from different perspectives.
But in every other university course, you don't have that.
No.
You know, you don't have your business and marketing students going and doing a module with the English department. You know, you are two separate departments of a university, and they've got a curriculum to follow.
Yeah. But I think that's really, like, again, that's a new one. I didn't realise that there was a collaboration. Obviously, when I was at university, it was very different to what I heard when I had art friends. I think that's crucial because, again, I'm coming from a very different point of view. And I've gone into art spaces that needed marketing, or they needed, help with funding or applications, and I know how crucial it is to bring that new perspective. So when if you're having that interaction before going out into the real world, and you're having the access within your university, I think that's a massive privilege. Like if I was able to go and do a module in arts and learn about marketing, that would be great. That is a good collaboration. I think that's like what I'm saying, that's an amazing thing. Because you're learning from each other, and again, that's the whole point of when you do arts. You're not going to work with the same kind. Your audiences are going to be different. The directors and managers, everybody's going to have their own point of view. If you're able to deal with the conflict or any challenges that arise within the classroom, then you can progress, and it's a lot easier for you to go in the real world and work with people that are not like you. So I think that's really crucial.
And it's a bit of a threat to community arts as well.
Yeah, I always feel, sorry.
Go on.
I almost feel like I'm a bit anti, that's why I haven't really said anything on the subject, because I'm a bit like, I feel the threat in terms of, but why would I want to change what that was, what applied performance is and what those conversations are, because it's made up on the social political issues and the imperfectness of performance, and that's what it is. And I think if you're not in that lane and you're not in that zone, then you're not in that lane, you're not in that zone. Do you know what I mean? You just didn't choose that course. I think common room and socially, I think there's an abundance of crossover in terms of learning and tradition. I felt like how it was set up was right, personally. I didn't feel like... Did you?
I didn't. I would have loved to have been in your position.
Okay.
But I think the thing is the difficulty, and we've had so many talks about this, but I think it seems very personal, and when you're living it, it seems very, especially I remember in first year when they call it the actor-AP divide, and it's very we're us and you do you, and that's that. And it feels at the time like it's a personal attack on what you are doing. It is not that whatsoever. And I think the university is set up so that they are doing their course of education and we are doing ours. And if you decide to socially correspond, cool. If you decide to create work with them outside of that, cool. I think it's one of those where I kind of feel a mix of everything that's been said, because of course it would be an incredible opportunity if that is the opportunity that you want. If you want an actor to come in and, for me as a writer, I write something and I see an actress performing it or an actor performing it, I want someone who is trained in acting to do that. However, if you're going to, devise a piece of community theatre that is important that everyone in the room is kind of clocked onto the same social political ideas, then it's probably better to have a cast of people who have studied those type of things.
Absolutely.
And I think, of course, there's room for great collaboration, but at the same time, everyone is doing. They've got their own, their own motivation to be doing what they're doing. So it's difficult. I just would say it's not a personal gripe at you as an actor or as an applied performance student or professional. It's not that. They're just very separate worlds, and that's okay, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I agree though. That we have a right to be a little bit more precious than you as an actor.
No,
because
we have to defend what we do a lot more, and I think that's tough.
Because
that's annoying.
there is no way, I personally don't think, that in a professional casting situation, somebody who has not trained as an actor or an actress, unless they are naturally fantastic, which obviously there are some people who are, you're not going to get that role. because you've got 100 people, 100 other people auditioning who have a specific trained skill set, right, to go into auditions, which is a big thing already. The standard of how they work is so high. However, on our point of view, there are thousands of actors and actresses that come into community work who can't facilitate, who just don't see the need for work to be fundamentally ethical every single session, and that jeopardizes not only a process and a career for us, but also for the participants involved, because I've done multiple TIE tours with numerous actors who have come into it, and by week 3, they can't be asked.
But
And
applied
you've
theatre
got
is a
new
new
classes.
game.
Huh?
Applied theatre courses are a new game.
Okay.
Acting courses have been around for a long time, and people are used to actors crossing over into that field.
Yeah.
Whereas applied theatre is a new profession, and you'll find over, hopefully, the next 10, 15 years, you'll have to prove that experience before you can go into a community setting and just pick up a drama workshop. And you'll have to have that experience. You'll have to have the sort of stuff on your CV that the applied theatre course gives you. The experience that you get on that course is phenomenal. I didn't train through an applied theatre course because there was no such thing then. I've had to work for many, many years taking on odd bits of jobs to get that experience that you're getting through a university course in 3 years. And it's a new game, and once that game is established, and once that is a profession, it's a proper profession of applied theatre practitioners, then there's going to be the work. But you guys are the forerunners of that, because it's not an old course, it's maybe 8, 10 years old. You know, in Birmingham.
So then would you argue that the quality of work that's being made now by specific applied directors and theatre makers is better than the work of, let's say, Big Brom?
No, because they've done it for so long. Big Brom are 30 years old now. When they started, the work wasn't as good as it is now.
But what I'm saying is that so it has been recognised. This type of practice has been recognised for a long time, but yet we're still seeing acting students or people who aren't of a educational forte come into this sector and jeopardise the work.
Because those were actors. The people that run Big Brom are actors.
Yeah.
On their CV it says, I trained as an actor. So then people go, oh, trained actors can do this work and do it really well.
Yeah.
But now they're going, what are these applied? They're coming in and being able to do this work at 20, not 50. You know, and they're able to do the work straight away, and they're able to have those skills, and they're being taught those skills by people who run Big Brom 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, the tutors that you've got on your course are people that have been out there in the game and done it.
Yeah.
Same as on the acting course.
That's fantastic. We'll bring it just to a close now. We can debate all day. Yeah, if any final words, do you want to plug anything you're doing, or any social media? Anyone?
You should plug.
I'll plug. Yeah, man. So if you want to connect with me for like music, or check out any of my EPs, you can type in the Maiwa Jazz online. So spell it NAMIWAJAZZ. I've got an EP coming out later this year, and I've got a few live shows coming up. So there'll be updates on those, and for Namai Change Formation and joining the movement of what we're trying to do here in Birmingham, then follow NCF_Brum, or go onto namaichangeformation.co.uk and check out the website, and check out what we're doing. That's my plugs.
I think to finish off with a round of applause for us.
Do you enjoy the film?
I'm doing a show as well. From the start of May until mid-June, we're reading the spring tour of Wuthering Heights across England and one day in Scotland with a production company called Hot Buckle Productions, and we are performing in sort of the shires of England, basically. So no big cities, fortunately. So, but there's 4 of us doing the entire story of Wuthering Heights in just under 2 hours. Sort of just 4 of us, 2 guys, 2 girls. Multi-role in 5-6 different characters, and there's a bit of a different outlook on the classic. So if anyone's...
It is absolutely fab. If you do get the opportunity to go and see it, I would recommend it tenfold. It's great.
Brilliant. Once again, a round of applause. Network Ability with Dean Melbourne, and then we'll have another AppChat later on with industry professionals. Don't forget, keep hashtagging Graduates Unleashed, which is Grad Unleashed. And also we do have our evaluation tables and our mentor tables, so you can go to the tables and find out. We'll keep talking to each other and keep connecting.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.